Today's lesson is called The Fish of Maui. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff.
I'm Roger, and we're going to continue with our traditional story, The Fish of Maui. Remember, this is a traditional story from New Zealand about the Maori people. And this character is Maui. He's the youngest of all these brothers, but the brothers did not want to bring him with them when they went on a fishing trip. They dismissed him as being too small to be anything but an obstacle. He would just get in the way, but he decided to outsmart his brothers. He wove a special fishing line from flax, and then he concealed himself in the canoe, and then he revealed himself when they were too far from shore to take him back.
There you go. He's a trickster, this guy Maui. Maui had hooked a big one. Let's see what he's able to reel in. Anyways, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll be learning more about the fish of Maui.
Fearing the fish he had caught was too large and powerful even for him, Maui cried out, "Help me, my brothers!" The 5 of them began to pull on the line with all the strength they could summon. After some tense minutes, during which the brothers were convinced the creature would drag them to their deaths, their panic turned to shock. A giant fish the size of an island had breached the water's surface, its fins spread to the east and west, and its tail stretching far to the north.
各位好，第一部分我们看到形容词 tense 指局势或是情况紧绷，令人紧张的。例如 The mood in the room was tense as they ate their dinner in silence. 房间里的气氛紧张，而他们全都默默地吃着晚餐。或是 The horror movie had plenty of tense scenes that unnerved the audience. 那部恐怖片有好多紧张场景，让观众心惊胆跳。另外，除了上面的意思，这个字还有以下2种用法。第一，这个字也可以当动词，指使绷紧，变得紧张。我们可以说 Ken tensed as the pack of wild dogs moved closer and closer. 那群野狗越来越靠近， Ken 也紧张起来。第二，这个字还可以当名词，意思是时事、时态。举例来说 If you're talking about something that hasn't happened yet,You could use the future tense. 如果你在描述还未发生的事情，你可以用未来式。接着，我们看到单字 breach， 这个字是动词，指冲破或是突破，像是 The river breached its banks due to large amounts of rainfall. 那条河因大量降雨而溃堤。另外，除了上面的意思，这个字还有以下2种用法。第一，指侵害、违反，例如The virus had breached the company's main server, shutting down all computers in the office. 电脑病毒侵害该公司的主伺服器，让公司所有电脑宕机。第二，这个字也可以当名词，指破坏或是侵害。我们可以说 The bank increased security measures after the breach of its firewall. 在电脑防火墙遭破坏后，那间银行提升了安全措施。再来，我们看到名词 fin，意思是鱼鳍。举例来说 This fish can be easily identified by the size and color of its fins. 这只鱼透过其大小和鱼鳍颜色很容易就能辨识。
Okay, so remember they're out in the ocean, and where we left off, Maui had just cast his line into the ocean, and he had a magical jawbone or an enchanted jawbone attached to the line, and he felt a tug on the line. So he's about to catch a fish here. So fearing the fish he had caught was too large and powerful even for him, Maui cried out, "Help me, my brothers!" So he could feel this tug, but it was a very strong tug or pull on the line there, and he realized, oh my goodness, I've caught something quite large here. It could be as large as a sperm whale or something like that, and he thought, oh, this is just too big for me. I'm a young brother here. I'm a young boy. How could I possibly pull this fish into the boat? He cried out for help to his brothers. Help me, my brothers. And what happened next?
What happened next? Well, the 5 of them began to pull on the line with all the strength they could summon. Okay, so when you summon strength, you get all of your strength and you bring it to bear on one thing, okay? You can also summon your concentration. You want to focus all of your concentration on one thing. The act of doing that is summoning either your concentration or summoning your strength. You put every ounce of your energy, every ounce of your strength into doing one thing. So there you go. All the brothers there, they're all working together and they have summoned all of their strength.
Yes, they came up with this strength. They pulled on the line, but I don't think their strength was sufficient. After some tense minutes during which the brothers were convinced the creature would drag them to their deaths, their panic turned to shock. Okay, so we've got some tense minutes here. If something's tense, that means everybody's really nervous. Nobody knows what's going to happen. You're on the brink of a disaster there. So there were some tense minutes there. It was very nerve-wracking. And they were convinced.
Come on, tell me more. Tell me more. Get to the end of the story.
You're
I'm
being
so
quite tense there. Yes, indeed. Lots of tension is going on there. But the brothers knew that this was a big fish, and they were convinced that the creature would drag them to their deaths. If you're convinced of something, you've been persuaded. You think this is going to happen because of the things that have happened or because of something that someone told you.
And the brothers here, they've been fishing their entire lives. Maui's never really gone fishing with them before. So they've probably dealt with some big fish in their lives. And they're convinced that this is the biggest thing that they've ever tried to haul in. So they're kind of scared here. They really think that this creature is going to drag them to their deaths. Take them all overboard, out of that canoe, and into the ocean, the bottomless ocean, so to speak. Anyways, it says next, their panic turned to shock, extreme surprise. A giant fish the size of an island had breached the water's surface, its fins spread to the east and west, and its tail stretching far to the north. Anyways, it says here that this fish breached the water's surface. What does that mean? I've heard that sometimes whales will breach the surface of the water to get air or something like that. Is that what that means? This fish basically came to the surface, broke the surface of the water?
Yeah, they kind of break the surface of the water. Indeed, they go higher or they go through something. For example, I could say, the water of the river breached the banks and flooded the nearby neighborhoods. That sometimes can happen if it rains a lot. The river will breach its banks. The water from the river will go over the sides of the river and cause flooding. But in this particular case, we're talking about a giant fish, a massive fish, a huge fish. It came out of the water and they could see it there, but it turned out to be a really big fish the size of an island, and its fins spread to the east and west, and its tail stretching far to the north. Okay, so fins, of course, are what fish have. They're the parts of a fish that stick out, that help the fish find its direction in the water. Fish usually has fins on the bottom and on the top and on the sides, etc. And they spread out in two directions there, east and west, and then the tail stretched way up north. Of course, fish have tails.
In fact, when you go swimming sometimes, people will give you fins that you can put on your feet. They're made out of rubber or plastic so that you can swim more quickly because they function more like a fish's fins than your feet do. Anyways, folks, with that, it is time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
A catch such as this demanded great thanks to the ocean spirits, so Maui asked his brothers to guard it as he dived down to express his gratitude in person. As soon as Maui was out of sight, the brothers began to argue intensely about which parts of the fish each would claim as his own, greedily hacking away huge pieces with their knives and creating mountains and valleys in the animal's flesh.
第二部分，我们看到单字 intensely 这个字是副词，指强烈的、激烈的或是极度的。例如 Ever since she was a teenager, Olive has been intensely interested in football. 自从 Olive 在青少年时期就对足球产生了浓厚的兴趣。另外，这个字去掉字尾 ly 就成了形容词 intense， 指激烈的、极度的，像是 Roger's job as an engineer requires intense concentration. Roger 是位工程师，他的工作需要极度的专心。
So again, they just caught this huge fish that is as big as an island, and a catch such as this demanded great thanks to the ocean spirits. A catch, of course, in this particular case, this is the noun. It refers to something that they caught. A big fish. Hey, show me the catch that you had today. Show me what you caught today. And so, yes, indeed, the catch had something to do with the ocean spirits, so they had to say thank you to those spirits. Hey, thank you for giving us such a big fish. Hey, we can eat for a year now.
Well, I guess if you have adequate refrigeration and a good freezer, that's possible. But this fish is the size of an island. How are they going to get it into the canoe? How are they going to drag it back to their island? I have questions. Anyways, a catch such as this demanded great thanks to the ocean spirits, so Maui asked his brothers to guard it as he dived down to express his gratitude in person. By the way, if you express your gratitude to someone, you say thank you to them. You acknowledge something good or nice that they have done for you. Now, as soon as Maui was out of sight, the brothers began to argue intensely about which parts of the fish each would claim as his own, greedily hacking away huge pieces with their knives and creating mountains and valleys in the animal's flesh. Are they creating a new island out of fish flesh? I think that this is going on right now. I think this is what they're doing.
Could be, don't give away the ending there. But in any case here, yes, indeed, this is what happens when families have a big inheritance, They may have been great brothers and sisters and stuff like that. But if you have rich parents and they die, those siblings can start fighting with each other. And they will argue intensely like the brothers are doing here. Hey, I saw that fish first. No, it's mine. I'm older than you. I know my parents better than you. No, I get it. I deserve it. I've done all sorts of things at home and you haven't. You're lazy. I get it. Stuff like that. They'll argue intensely. If something's intense, of course, it's to a high degree with a lot of energy. And yes, indeed, they wanted to claim different parts of that fish, and they were hacking away huge pieces with their knives. Hack here is a verb that just means to chop into something with a knife or a machete or a sword or something like that.
Okay, so they're not going to take that big fish home with them. They're going to hack away at it, take what they want, and leave it there. Now, this fish is as big as an island, and once they're through, they're just going to leave it there. Now, whatever flesh is on that fish's carcass will probably, decay or get eaten away, but I imagine what's going to be left is an island. More on that right after we take a short break.
Over many thousands of years, the giant fish became populated with plants and animals, and the mountains and valleys carved out by Maui's brothers became part of its landscape. Should you travel to New Zealand today, you can see the remains of Maui's fish, now known as the North Island, for yourself.
最后是第三部分，我们看到单字 carve 这个字是动词，指雕刻或是切下、割下肉片，像是 My grandfather carved this bird from a piece of wood. 我的祖父用一块木头雕刻出这只鸟，或是 Max carved the turkey before our Thanksgiving dinner. Max 在感恩节晚餐前把火鸡切好了。另外，补充一个相关片语 carve out 表示努力开创。我们可以说 Tiffany had carved out a unique role for herself at the company. Tiffany 努力为自己在公司争了一个独一无二的位置。
Okay, let's continue with our story. Let's wrap things up here by looking at the final paragraph. Where we left off, the brothers were arguing, they were bickering over which parts of the fish each would claim as his own. They were hacking away huge pieces with their knives, and as a result, lots of mountains and valleys were created in the animal's flesh. And over many thousands of years, the giant fish became populated with plants and animals, and the mountains and valleys carved out by Maui's brothers became part of its landscape. So this happened over a period of thousands of years. This giant fish became populated with plants and animals. Here we've got the verb to populate. That is a verb that just refers to the situation in which people, or as in this case, plants, kind of move into an area and they increase in number.
And there's more. And the mountains and valleys carved out by Maui's brothers became part of the landscape, okay? Whatever they removed, well, maybe that became a mountain or a valley or something like that. A landscape was formed in the process.
That is a fascinating story indeed, and it's a traditional story here. So that, of course, is how this island formed as a result of the brothers hacking out valleys and mountains and stuff like that. So should you travel to New Zealand today, or if you travel to New Zealand today, you can see the remains of Maui's fish, now known as the North Island, for yourself. Of course, as you know, New Zealand has two main islands, the North Island and the South Island. And I suppose the South Island has a similar story, but we don't have time to talk about that today. But it's still very interesting to talk about the North Island's origin. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在故事里面呢，毛衣的鱼线出现了强烈的拉扯，接着他们五兄弟就开始尽全力拉着这个鱼线。在那紧张的几分钟里面，他们都相信那只生物会把他们拖向死亡。好，文中是用到动词 convince 来表达使什么相信的意思。那我们来学它的字首字根。好，看到 vict 或是 vince 这两个字根，它们有攻击或是战胜的意思。在 convince 这个字当中，它的字首 con 有强调的语义，那么 vince 表示战胜。好，当我们在跟人家争论的时候，如果讲赢对方，你战胜了对方，那就表示我们所说的话是可以说服对方，可以让对方信服的。这样应该可以联想到 convince 它有说服或是使相信、使信服的意思吧。那我们顺便补充几个有这一类字根的单字。第一个是 convict， convict。 好，它的字首 con 就是有强调语义，那么字根 vict 有战胜的意思。好，那同学们可以试着想 邪不胜正，对不对？当这个正义的一方战胜了邪恶，我们就可以把这个坏人定罪啦。所以 convict 这个字当动词可以表达判决、判定什么什么有罪。那它当名词的时候是念作 convict， 这时候它是用来表达服刑的囚犯。好，第二个补充的是 victor。victor 这个字的字根 vict 表示战胜，那么 or 是名词字尾，可以用来表达从事什么什么的人，那么合在一起 victor 就是胜利者或是赢家。第三个补充的是 invincible， invincible。好，它的字首 in 表示不，表示否定，那么 vinc 的部分是来自字根 vince， 表示战胜。好， ible 就跟 able 一样，是表达可怎么样，能怎么样的，那么合在一起 invincible 从字面来看就是不可战胜的，那就表示它是无敌的，是所向无敌的哦。好，课文第二部分提到说，毛伊他潜入水里面去向海洋的神灵来道谢，毛伊一消失踪影，哥哥们就开始激烈的争论了。文中是用到 out of sight 来表达消失踪影， sight 在这边是当不可数名词来表达视力范围、视野，那么 out of sight 就表示在视线之外的、看不见的。我们也可以用 keep 什么什么 out of somebody's sight 来表达保持在某人的视野之外，让某人看不见。好，那么相反的，如果是说 keep 什么什么 in somebody's sight 或者是 within somebody's sight 就表示保持在某人的视线范围内。像我们可以说Keep your personal belongings in your sight at all times 随时将您的个人物品保持在视线范围内。好，另外呢，英文有一个说法叫做 out of sight, out of mind 从字面上来看 out of sight 表示看不见， out of mind 表示不在心上，看不到的就不放在心上，这个意思就像我们中文说的眼不见为净咯。那其他类似的说法还有 far from eye, far from heart 远离眼睛就远离心，意思就是眼不见则心不念。那你也可以说 ignorance is bliss 这是我们中文说的无知便是福。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Summon. The runner struggled to summon the strength needed to finish the race. Tense. After a long, tense silence, Zoe's mother finally spoke. Convince.
Lara was convinced that her boyfriend had been lying to her.
Gratitude. Tears of gratitude filled her eyes as she accepted the award. Intensely. The athletes competed intensely for the gold medal. Populate. This area is populated by many immigrants from Southeast Asia. Carve. Timothy carefully carved his name into the handle of his axe.
Discussion starter starts now!
All right, everyone. Now it's time for our discussion starter. Hey, Roger, what do you think Maui's desire to prove himself a capable fisherman reveals about his character?
I think it shows that perhaps his brothers were mean to him. Maybe they bullied him. And as a result, the younger brother felt that he had to prove himself. So I suppose if you have mean older brothers, it can be bad, of course, but it can result in the formation of huge islands. How about you?
Well, to me, I do agree. He will go to great lengths to prove himself. But this story also proves to me that Maui doesn't quite understand just how powerful he is. You put Maui together with that enchanted jawbone and wow, amazing things really can occur, and Maui doesn't even understand the extent to what he can accomplish. Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you guys enjoyed reading and learning along with us. I am Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.